Hey AfterBuzzers, you're watching the AfterBuzz TV AfterShow for Vinyl Season 1, Episode 7, The King and I. Join us tonight as we break down the episode and give our thoughts and predictions. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
All right, guys. Fresh episode, and I think this one was a really good one. What are we thinking? How do we feel?
It was awesome.
It was tight.
All right, cool. Before we dive into it, want to make sure you guys are subscribed to us on YouTube, youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. And if you're there right now watching, chat with us in the chat. We've got it up, and we will talk to you all episode long. I'm your host, Lauren Salaun. You can find me on Twitter and everywhere else on the internet at Lauren Salaun. And take it away.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Steve Kaufmann. My name's obviously Steve Kaufmann.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Laila Sadny. My name is obviously Laila Sadny.
You can find me everywhere online at Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham. My name is obviously Jeffrey Graham. You can also find me on Instagram at Jeffrey Crane Graham.
Whoa, and that is his full name.
That's my full name. Now y'all know.
Out.
Yeah.
Watch out. All right, and Laila, why don't you tell us a little bit about this band that's playing right now?
This little band that's playing right now is a band called the James Gang, and they played the song Funk 49 in this episode, and it's my stepdad's band. He's the drummer, Jimmy Fox. So
yeah.
I want to give him a shout out.
Cool. Family connection there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive into things. This episode, I actually really liked it. It was pretty streamlined, pretty simple. We didn't have a ton of stuff really going on, but we did have quite a little twist at the end there. So let's dive in and talk about Zach and Richie. So we start off the episode with, you know, the kind of the partners and stuff, figuring out things like crunching numbers, you name it. I really loved right there in the beginning, like, Andy's smart ass comments about stuff. They're like, oh, we're talking about finances and stuff, or donate, you know. And she's like, oh, let me get my change purse. You know, just busting their balls about stuff. But I feel like the tone and the attitude of everybody is pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so.
Andy's refreshing because she's the first, like, not very self-serious woman. We've had a lot of non-self-serious men. I mean, Richie notwithstanding, but, like, if you look at, like, Yankovic or Julie... Wait, Julie's the lawyer, right? Okay, because I'm thinking... Yeah, wait, no, I'm not thinking of Julie. Shoot, who writes up the contracts? What's his name?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Shame on us, super fans. But, like, I feel like there's a lot of comic relief, and we haven't had it from the women yet.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to see, like, Andy's just, like, not super self-serious. She's very strong. She's very funny. And she's a nice foil to a lot of these, like, really troubled women. And, like, Jamie's spunky, but even she, like, has to deal with her mom. And, like, it's nice to just have a fresh... upbeat female voice in this show.
Andy's a grown-up, mature woman, and whereas Jamie's still learning her way. So it's nice to see that confidence and that.
Yeah, but we can see Jamie grow up to be someone like Andy.
Totally, yeah.
Exactly.
I hope she mentors her, actually.
Yeah.
And Andy's like, you know, one of the boys, essentially.
Yeah, she is.
So this whole episode is centered around Richie and Zach taking a trip to LA and Vegas because they're going to sell the plane.
Correct.
Pretty much. And then while they're on it, they're like, oh, well, we'll be near Vegas. Why don't we go talk to Elvis's manager? Like, all this stuff. So it's this whole situation. And their plane ride, you know, they got to kind of hash things out, which was
needed.
I feel like much needed.
Oh, this was so much fun too.
Oh, so fun.
I was like, I was so happy that actually happened. Like, go Zach.
And Zach was getting pretty punchy, you know, because Richie was wanting to go by himself, essentially. And he's like, oh, you hate LA, all this stuff, right? And I love Zach's line to him. He's like, I trust my wife naked in bed with Burt Reynolds before I trust you with $100K in cash, pretty much. Like, and he's like, I see your point.
Yeah.
Okay.
That analogy still holds up.
I know. He should have
exactly, right? I know, like 1970s Burt Reynolds and 2016 Burt Reynolds.
Way to stay consistent, Burt Reynolds.
Great job, Burt. And ultimately they end up kind of patching up their relationship there. Though, as we see later, like, I feel like what happens could come out.
Yeah, you see that relationship that they have. It's just like that brother. It's like they're brothers, you know. It's like they hate each other and they love each other, and it's good to see that them, like, on the plane, and kind of see Zach kind of almost, Richie's sober for that brief moment. And it's nice to see Zach kind of being like the badass, like his role switched.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Telling him how it is, kind of, and like letting loose a bit, like
having some cocktails.
Exactly. And
yeah, it's not. You can just definitely see the depth of their friendship, and if you're a startup co-founder, because that's essentially what they are, you've gone through the mud together, and there's probably a mentality of like, no matter what happens, we built this. We're gonna freaking figure it out.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot where Zach is mentioning, at the bat mitzvah, there was this kid who did this Bowie song, which we talked about last week, which was done by Trey Songz, actually sang the version of it. He's not playing the character, and Zach's telling him, I really want to bring him in for a demo and all this, which is kind of funny because sometimes we don't know if those interstitial sort of situations are real life or just thrown in. That one was definitely much more clear that it was real life because they're watching them. It was at the party, but sometimes you're not. Yeah, sometimes they don't usually come back into play.
Yeah, they're just people performing on a beach, and then that's just how we got to that's how they got us to California. It was just an interstitial.
Yeah, exactly. So when this actually came back into the picture, I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't dig that. Let's see him again. So he wants to bring him in for a demo, and Richie's like, yeah, do it. Like, you would be great at A&R. Like, totally. And I liked seeing that kind of like that, like you were saying, that friendship and
that support.
That
support of just like, you don't have to ask permission. Like, you have a stake in this. If you bring in if you bring someone in and do a demo, like we'll support you.
I don't know if that's happened though in the past with Zach. Like
I feel like it hasn't. I also don't feel like he's. I feel like tried. I think the plan up until the pilot, before we've joined them, was they were in the mud together, essentially founding a startup to cash out the startup.
Correct. Yeah.
And then Richie decides not to do that, so everything has to change.
Right.
And Zach still has to come. I think Zach has only finally come to terms with the fact that, nope, I'm not going to make that $10 million right away like I thought, and I'm going to keep making more money.
Yeah.
Or trying to.
Ray Romano's so great. It's been so much fun to see him in this role, and I love Parenthood. I don't know if you guys watched that show at all. That's okay. Definitely worth.
Love Ray Romano.
yeah. Parenthood's definitely a show for anyone watching. Definitely worth going back to watch. I think it's great. But he's so good in this role, and I'm still calling it. I'm predicting a minor. What would the category be for his Emmy? Is he a lead?
Supporting actor.
Yeah, supporting.
I'm calling it now. I think he's going to get a supporting actor Emmy nod.
For which episode?
Because supporting only points to one episode, right?
Or Emmys, I believe. Yeah, Emmys only.
I'm not going to say until the season's done. Last episode, I'll let you guys know which.
Okay.
We'll see.
It would likely be this one.
But he's great because he's funny, but he's also dramatic. He's like a really nice balance. He's great casting. Yeah, fun to see.
He's great. He's great to see, like, because you normally see him just doing like the comedy. It's great to see him like this.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you were saying, we saw a whole different side of him. He cut loose.
He came out.
So it's fun in this episode. We saw many sides of Rich.
I mean, many different sides. But after his marriage, it's after that bar mitzvah, the whole situation, he needed to like let loose.
Yeah.
Yeah. He really.
I'll be excited to talk about how you guys felt about his behavior in Vegas because I'm.
Well, yeah. Let's get into it. So they get to Vegas and they are going to see Colonel Parker, Elvis's manager, and they're at the casino there, and he's like an eccentric kind of guy. The Colonel, he's like, well, I'll listen and we'll see you later, and he just like walks right through and like
which that's historically
people.
true. I was doing more research, and
he was kind of like.
He also like pretty much ran the show when it came to Elvis.
Yeah, I want to get into talking about the Elvis situation too, but
for sure,
not quite yet.
And we see them at the pool, like flirting with girls and stuff. And I loved seeing how Richie was turning down, all the booze,
everything,
all the coke, like every single instance that
hooking up with women.
Yeah, every single situation where coke was presented or there was alcohol or anything, he turned it down. Even right there at the pool, and I was like, no, don't do it. He's not going to. He like. Flings it and then jumps in the pool.
Yeah, did you see like when it was offered to him how he kind of like thought about it and he kind of looked at the kids playing and obviously he probably thought about his kids and then and just like threw her in the pool.
This was an important episode for me in terms of like my Richie perspective. I've kind of had trouble getting on board with like feeling for Richie's plight, and it was really nice to see him sober for me. I don't know if we're gonna see it again, but it was good for me.
And I mean, it wasn't completely like. he's got that addictive personality, and it came out in another way, which we'll get to. But it was such a relief the whole time. He's so straight-laced, and even at the office, everybody's like, "Whoa, boss is on the wagon." You know?
But I think this episode showed that he's being self-destructive. That like him being sober didn't mean he wasn't going to be self-destructive.
He's an addict.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, he's just an addict.
Yeah. He's an addict, and I guess something inside of him makes him feel like he doesn't deserve.
Yeah.
Probably, I think a lot of it is like I'm just some scumbag who killed a guy,
right,
and couldn't even fess up to it. Like that's deep down in his head that he has to constantly face that.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like you have 90 grand, you're having a great weekend in Vegas. You don't deserve this.
Real quick thing about the episode. Speaking of Vegas, LA, I thought it was really nice we got to New York. I don't know if you guys.
Yes.
I think that was part
of coming to the West Coast.
I know. I think that was the part of the reason the episode felt so fresh was because we weren't in New York City. I don't know.
Totally different vibe. I mean, in the beach house in Malibu, and you see a lot of like famous musicians from that time, like Mamas and the Papas, and Neil Young, people like that. So it was cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and even just the the cinematography and like just being in that different setting was so much fresher. Obviously, less dark shots and stuff like that. Yeah. So it was a really nice change of pace. So the guys go to watch Elvis, and Zach's been partying like all day. Obviously. They're there to like woo Elvis and his manager, and Zach's like heckling him almost. Like talking crap, and the Colonel's looking at them, and Richie's like, okay, bro, like and the tables have kind of turned. Like usually lately Richie's been the one that you need to rein in, and Zach's like been so by the book about stuff, and now the other way around.
But Zach wasn't wrong.
No, he was going to say he was completely right.
He was completely correct. He just didn't have any tact about it.
Right. Exactly.
And I liked this scene because it gives context to, because we obviously remember Elvis as a whole. Like we remember the black jacket Elvis and the white jumpsuit Elvis as the same person.
You're right.
Whereas those were distinctly different people.
Very.
Yeah.
Like in the actual time in his career.
And Zach obviously it was like an Elvis fan, like a real true Elvis
Yeah,
fan.
like
And then to
true-
see like someone you grew up like idolizing, like doing that performance, it's
Well, and this was, around this time is pretty much when Elvis was like, he didn't die too much.
It was pretty soon after that. Yeah. And they were saying it was kind of with Richie and him talking, like it would have been cool to actually if Elvis would have like gone the other way and done something else.
But I think what we learned and what I've read about Elvis is that he didn't run that part of his career.
Doesn't sound like it.
The Colonel ran it.
Exactly. And when the Colonel comes, they're in there talking, and you get, I was almost getting hopeful. I'm like, what? They're like, Elvis is kind of washed up right now, but still, if they got Elvis on their side, he's still bringing in a lot of money. Like, he's maybe not making like the same great music that he used to be, and it's not coming from the heart or the passion anymore, but it's
Elvis.
big old bank, big old check.
That would be exciting. That prospect would be very exciting, that he could be both a cash cow and a staple for the label. Of like, he'd be a mainstay staple for the label of like, this is what our direction is, because he's Elvis, but he's doing it again. Right,
exactly. And just with the label, like, all these rumors going around that they're closing up and they're getting out of business and they're going bankrupt, or you name it.
That's the
having
biggest statement.
Elvis come over, that'd be huge.
That's a good point.
And we're watching it, and I almost was like, Elvis is like wants to do it. There's no,
he totally wanted to do it.
I'm like, I know there's no way they're gonna sign Elvis, but like Elvis wants to.
He was into it.
And then the Colonel walks in. He's pretty much like, okay, what's going on here? You guys having fun small talk, and pretty much says like, Elvis isn't usually involved in the paperwork side of things, like pretty like a nice way of saying he doesn't have any control over the decision making process. And I know, Jeff, you and I were talking about this a little bit before we went on air, but the moment when he's like, show Richie the trick that you did with the Secret Service, just that. Doing that, it just made, and that kind of transition, I think, was to prove that Elvis is not, like, that whole conversation you just had, Richie, with this guy, he's not all there. Like,
totally.
Or even like, if he doesn't make choices.
He's a puppet.
He literally does what he's told. Like, exactly.
He's made it this far because I pulled all the strings.
Exactly.
Do you think he's going to pick now to go against what I think?
Exactly.
And he obviously doesn't feel that strongly to even tell me. Because Richie gave multiple moments of like, Elvis and I Elvis and I feel this way. Elvis and I feel this way. Tell him. And he's like, well, I don't really get involved in all that.
Yeah. He's scared.
I was just going to say, I'm glad this show is exploring this, because if it wants to be a true show about the industry, any facet of entertainment, I think from the audience perspective, sometimes talent feels like they're running the show. But it's true. Once you work in the industry and you're kind of behind the scenes, you see that talent is a cog. And I think it would have felt disingenuous to not explore that theme of like talent as cog, talent as puppet. So I think it was really important for us to get a full picture of, artists and who they are and what they are. Sometimes they're they're a piece in a huge machine, which
right, and especially being at such a giant. I mean, Elvis. Literally, he was a big deal. So. They would bend over backwards and do stuff, obviously, for him and his manager. But from a label perspective, if you're a huge label and you're getting signed on, and you're signing on artists, like a lot of times artists, and when they get signed to these major record labels, like they don't ever get to put out an album, and then they just get dropped because someone else has more followers, or someone else. This is dumb song caught on faster.
Or the label,
kind of just like sit there, you're signed, but you can't do anything.
Or they cut an album, the label doesn't like it.
True. And then they shelve it, and then they never get a second chance. Exactly. So it is, there are some, if you get with a good label who really loves you and is willing to put their, to back you and let you be creative, like that's when you really luck out. But sometimes it's not with those majors that unless you already got really big.
Yeah, you got big, and then you can be creative.
On
exactly.
YouTube. Yeah. Oh wait, this is the 70s. No.
Right.
Totally different now.
In some parking lot somewhere.
On Betamax tapes.
On the streets of New York.
Wait, no, that's still 70s now. Betamax.
Yeah, what would it be? 8 tracks?
No. 8 tracks.
Vinyl. I mean vinyl.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Vinyl.
Like, mind blown.
Vinyl.
Oh man. All right. So after the whole, and in this moment when Richie left to go hang out with Elvis, which gosh, how cool are these guys? Seriously.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Right. He leaves Zach with the 2 ladies that they met at the pool earlier.
He set that up for him.
Yes.
So his friend could finally have a 3-way.
I know, which was so, cute. I don't know. So cute of them.
Creepy, cute.
They were talking about it on the plane. He's like, I don't know where I'd put things or whatever.
I don't know.
Fun fact, that was once pitched as a plot for Everyone Loves Raymond, but quickly dropped. So they recycled it.
Oh boy, that was a joke, everyone.
Just
Not
kidding.
true. So Richie lets Zach, have his fun time. Good for Zach. I don't know.
Yeah, so you wanted to talk a little bit about that how his behavior.
I'm trying not to make moral judgments.
Well, let's not make a moral judgment on the girls or the 3-way.
Not hot enough. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. if all 3 parties involved had a good time, this isn't a place for slut-shaming fictional characters for sleeping with Zach.
Well, no. I'm talking about him.
He's a married man with a kid. That's
I'm
those girls
fine
can
with the
get
girls
theirs.
having a 3-way, whoever they want.
It's more just it was kind of disheartening to see him come from his daughter's bar mitzvah right into a 3-way. And maybe it's not my job to be that's wrong, but I don't know. I mean, it's Terence Winter, it's Martin Scorsese. It's sometimes it's hard to tell if we're supposed to make a moral judgment about are there consequences? Oftentimes for his characters there aren't for making
I have one
in
question.
that time period too, and in that industry, it was pretty unfortunately common.
I have one question about Zach's character. Do we think he's ever wild out like this before?
Right.
I don't either.
I don't think
this was it.
Yeah, it did feel like this was exceptional.
Yes.
So
I feel like he never gets wasted like that.
Right.
Never cheats.
It's pretty. And his wife treats him awful. We see it.
Yeah.
So I mean, not that that's an excuse, but I don't think he strays.
It might come back though. It wouldn't shock me if the season finale.
I almost feel like it won't.
Yeah.
I don't think it will.
What happens in Vegas?
Right. That's true. There's a slogan for a reason.
I don't think it will. And it's as much as I'm that was wrong what he did sort of thing. I kind of felt like he needed a little.
It was fun. It was fun for us.
I was happy for him actually.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun for us for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty. We'll leave it at that. I don't think we'll see any more of that. With him,
I don't
really.
think
I bet he'll feel really guilty about it too.
After what happened.
Well, especially after what happened. Yeah, because so they are. you know, during this three-way, which we see later on the plane, this revelation, Richie had come in and goes into the safe and takes the money. And before, when he puts the money in the safe, I'm like, oh, good. Richie's like locking stuff up. And when he goes back there, I'm like, oh gosh, Zach's gonna have done something. He probably was playing with the money, showing the girls to impress them or something, you know?
In the blackjack scene, was anybody else really, really worried when Zach was just like, I got 90,000 in the room? Yeah. We got 18,000 on the table. We're gonna do this. Like what?
Exactly.
Why would you
and you
announce that?
You see the girls kind of glance at each other, and people are like, "Oh, what's up with this?" So of course, when we see Richie going back in there and the room is trashed and stuff, you automatically go to, "Oh, the girls, you know, conned him somehow. You know, got him really wasted, and then." Stole all the money.
Yeah, and
or he took it out and they went gambling. You know, something.
And the blonde one was there as Richie closed the safe, so it wasn't unreasonable for her to have literally just caught the combination.
Exactly.
Right. And I think Richie kind of knew that when he strikes me as somebody who had that out when he was like, well, I'll gamble the money and I'll have $1 million, or I'll just claim the ladies took it. The ladies he met that day.
Yeah. That shocked me. It was fun to be really surprised by a twist. I don't know if you guys were, but I was like, what's gonna happen? Because I knew he locked the safe, but I was like, Zach was dumb. Is he gonna be like literally punished? You know what I mean? And then like it felt like this was, for me, the first episode that kind of really strongly stood on its own. That like if I were to maybe show someone an episode of Vinyl, I might have to contextualize a bit, but be like, this is a great episode kind of thing. And that's what I've wanted, because I've kind of, one of my friendly complaints, even though I've loved the show, is that the episodes feel like acts of a movie, and like I like it in a show when you can just tune in and like hang out with the characters and there's a nice tight plot. So it was really nice for me to have an arc and have acts and have everything get turned on its head in that last act.
And that's what I liked about The Sopranos is a good example of a show that like more or less examined themes and full-length plots. Like there were A-side plots that went through the whole series, right? But there were a lot of plots that started and ended within the episode. For just the average television viewer, just like he started here and then ended here. Right. That was cool.
Yeah. So I think this was my favorite episode of the season for that reason. I'd just like to do rhymes all the time, you guys. I just did it again. But yeah, I thought this was great, and I was surprised. I was tense, and I just was pulled along, which was great. Yeah.
Alexander Lawrence in the chat, Zach should hook up with Andy.
I think we're kind of...
We already kind of,
we kind of thought that we felt some electricity between them.
That would bum me out, but it would be interesting. I'm still Randying.
Oh, really? I'm not.
Yeah.
So we didn't really bring up the whole number 18.
Right. Yeah.
That was great.
It was awesome.
Yeah. It's on the plane. It's on the table at Elvis's show. It's on the bottle of scotch.
And then at the very last scene on the airplane with the 2 bottles of liquor and the straw.
Exactly.
On his sobriety book.
And he's thinking, okay, well, there's got to be a reason for that, and then just loses it. And it's that thing where he's been so good the whole time, turning down booze, coke, all this stuff, women, and then he just cracks, and lets it slip up.
I just think
slip up and spend
he's been on
90
a
grand.
Bender of drugs, alcohol, and no sleep for I don't know, weeks. I don't know how long, but and then to finally get sober, I mean, he's not thinking that clearly.
No.
Like you see something over and over. It's not. I don't know. It's just his mind isn't all there.
Well, and I would do that. Like if I was like, I keep seeing this number, let's put $5 on it.
Maybe like $20.
Yeah, like maybe 25 or whatever the number was. That we'll put that on. But not all the money, and then keep going. Oh my
I actually don't think I've ever mentioned this on an after show. I've been gambling since the schoolyard. So when I turned 21, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal that I got to drink. It was a big deal that I got to gamble.
I thought gambling was 18.
No, it's 21.
Really? I thought it was 18.
I thought it was 18.
In Canada, it's 18. That's right. Because people will go to Windsor to... Yeah, keep going. Interrupted.
I'm from Philadelphia. I go to Atlantic City, get a room. It's my 21st birthday. The stroke of midnight when I turned 21, I put $21 on 21.
Aw.
And then it's like,
12.
Whoa,
12.
that's kind of weird.
Dyslexic bonus.
Yeah.
Wait, 12 what?
So you
It
get
was
nothing.
12.
You don't
I get
get
no-
anything.
yeah, you get
but
nothing.
it's
You
still
put it-
cool. You're like, oh, I see. I see you.
I'm almost there, universe.
Yeah.
Almost. Nice try. Next
I'm
time.
getting there.
Nice.
But yeah, that was
It's a hell of a story.
And then I learned never to play roulette ever again because it's a losing game.
Yeah.
More so
turned
than any of the other casino games that are also losing games.
I've never heard anything good from roulette, really. I mean, I really haven't met anyone that's won, though. But
Well, guys,
I just hear.
I won $3 million from roulette.
Really?
Yeah, didn't you know I live in the hills? Like right over here?
Oh.
Just kidding. This was so gambling. I think in terms of like 18 gambling, all this stuff. Again, another reason I love this episode was because it like was so true and like. I think my takeaway for Richie in this episode is like he is an addict. That's who he is, and like he was able to let go of the drugs, but there was something inside of him that couldn't let go of everything. So it took no time at all for him to fall right back into this.
I know.
I know,
So
and I was
close.
such hope for him,
I
too.
know.
Yeah, but I mean, keeping in mind that Devin is still gone with the kids, and we didn't see her
Nothing.
at all. Nothing of her in this episode, just a mention of her. And so he's still like very, his world's still pretty messed up.
Yeah.
And so I was very impressed. I mean, I guess we don't really know what the time frame is since last episode.
It's hard. I was trying to timeline
Seems
the
close.
show. I've been trying to timeline the whole show, and I'm having trouble because
feel
Richie's
like
just been
it's-
so coked out.
Yeah, I feel like it's something like that happened pretty much like right after she left.
Yeah.
Like, he's like,
Right.
I'm getting sober, I'm getting rid of all the alcohol.
You're probably right.
So it hasn't been that long, but still like a whole day where it's been, last time we saw him, he was doing coke like every 5 seconds, like not
Pretty
even
much.
kidding. I don't know how you
Licking
stay
it, starting it,
that high
I don't
the
know.
whole time.
Isn't there a withdrawal or?
Not if you keep
That's
staying
true.
high.
I'm asking.
mean,
I
yes,
don't know.
Yeah.
During this episode, I'm surprised we didn't see Richie sweaty and sick.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
from coke?
I
Does
mean,
Coke
still,
do that? I don't
It's
know.
not I don't think it's
How
a
do drugs
physically
work?
addicting.
Let us know in the chat where it's a safe space and you can be completely anonymous.
What is it like to withdraw from
Is
coke?
there a withdrawal from Coke?
Mom, what is cocaine withdrawal like?
There is a withdrawal from everything, but
Yeah.
we don't know, the severity of it. But if he was doing that much, I'm sure there was some sort of mentally there's like a withdrawal.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
But I was still so proud of him and so impressed, like the whole time until that last minute. It was such
What
a
a
bummer.
great twist. And like how chilling for Zach to think he did it.
And,
I just-
and Richie's such a dick for
know.
letting Zach think that.
Such an ass. I think,
Okay. Let's be clear though. This will never come up again
Yeah.
Oh no!
because Zach won't want to bring it up to anybody to actually look into it, and he trusts Richie to begin with. It's never coming up.
but if you think
know.
they sold the plane for that much money in the company,
Oh,
they're
no.
gonna be like, "Where's the money?"
They're gonna have to come up with a different story. Because
Yeah,
I think
that's
Get
Zach,
robbed.
they're gonna have to like punch each other in the face and be like, "We got jumped."
or
Yeah,
I don't
Zach.
know.
Preemptive
Richie-
prediction, and I know we're not there yet. I think this. I think episode 10, we're going to see Richie have his ultimate downfall. Part of that will be him watching his family leave him because of what happened in Vegas. They'll find out about the money, and Zach will have to confess. If we're talking about crushing guilt, that's going to destroy him to see his wife be so angry about losing all the money. You know what I mean? I just think I could see this being a one-off of what happens in Vegas thing, but I don't think it will be.
No, I think there's a lot of other. There are a lot of
There's
other
enough.
nuggets. There's a lot of other
You're
nuggets
wrong.
left
Just
left
kidding.
around.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, like
That's the point of this, yeah.
no, that's how I feel. That like I
Right.
feel like this was just a thing,
Yeah.
and maybe seasons later.
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
it'll
by the
come
way,
up.
remember that 90,000?
They got the
feels
cover
like-
Put them
somehow.
all on
Yeah.
18. You'd have done
Structurally,
that.
it feels like it'll be just a thing, but I just have a feeling. It's gonna. I think Richie's gonna leave no stone unturned. I think all of his guilt in a Shakespearean way is gonna.
Richie
Well,
like
and-
constantly punishing Zach in some sort of way. It's just like
Right.
Yeah.
And something we need to, I feel like I need to keep in mind is when these things start getting promising and seeming happy and like they're turning around, like, no, it's just a trick. It's just going to
Yeah.
get turned on me. I should know better.
They're not gonna sign Elvis.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to sign Elvis. Richie's not going to stay sober.
Yeah.
Like,
It's very
you know.
Shakespearean. In
Yeah.
That way.
Devin might come back, but they still won't be happy.
Yeah.
well, really?
I think we're gonna end at a rock bottom.
I don't think she's
Okay.
gonna come back.
Hey,
Like
okay.
honestly,
We're getting into a lot
We're
of
getting ahead,
predictions.
I know.
We're getting
We're
into a
getting
lot of
close to the end,
predictions.
that's life.
Let's cut to I think we wrapped our whole Richie Zach situation. So we had a few other, of our storylines coming up. So with Jamie and with her, I mean, we've obviously seen the tension between her mom and her aunt already, and she has this kind of sit down ish. I mean, her mom and aunt are sitting down with them, and she's like, I will pay your rent. Like, you can't live here anymore. I'll pay your rent anywhere else if you get any other job, which from like a mom's perspective, like I get she's looking out for her daughter, wanting the best for her, and she's like trying to do what she thinks is a compromise. But this is obviously, it's not what Jamie wants to do.
She wants control over Jamie, and she's trying to buy it.
Yes. Yeah.
Parents do this a lot.
Yeah. And so Jamie's like, I don't want your money, peace out, like this is what I want to do, which I mean, I don't think we saw her doing anything else but that.
No.
So it was just another continuation
that would have been
which I almost don't think was, like, I feel like that wasn't necessary.
I don't either.
Unless she goes and moves in with, like, Kip or something. Or
I think that was my prediction last week.
Or moves something like
well, she's going to have to move out. They're not going to keep her up anymore.
Right.
It was just keeping us tuned in, but I mean, clearly the main focus was Zach and Richie.
Right, exactly. And we see Clark as well, and he's in the mailroom.
Poor Clark.
He was demoted recently, and he's like such a goof, and he's on the bottom of the totem pole in there, and he's with like, a couple black guys or, people like...
I love some of those scenes in that episode in the mailroom. They were like my favorite.
And he's dancing, and they're like, what are you doing, kid? It's just so good because
that happens.
he's like a spoiled white boy, so it's good for him to like... get things like turned around
Jamie
a little bit.
Jamie helps him out though. She gives him a little
I
little
like
present.
That.
Make him cool.
I liked that scene with Jamie and Clark too because he's venting to her and they're kind of at the same level. Like she's a few steps ahead of him, but they're pretty much at the same level within the company. And I like that because he's venting to her and they have this little bond, and he's kind of a jerk to her too. Right. And she's like, you're asking for my help? Like, peace out, bro. Yeah. And then like, he apologizes and he's having a rough time. She gives him some weed and stuff and he makes friends with the guys in the mailroom. And
that's all it takes sometimes.
I feel like he's really going to end up finding like a good act through them.
Or at the very least, he's going to learn how things work in business, because a lot of Ivy League people, you run into that problem a lot, where they're
You're
like,
so smart.
you walk in
this
with
is
that,
the real world.
you walk in with that air that it's
privilege.
that air and entitlement and privilege, where it's, and then you wind up in the mailroom and it's just like, but like they're not going to let you sit down.
Right.
And you don't have anywhere to run and complain to. You're lucky to have this job in the mailroom where they won't let you sit down. You have to learn to work with those people and earn those people's respect.
Right.
And that's an incredible life skill.
Something about these scenes were tough for me, like actually hard to watch. I don't know if it's because I've interned and like it was so true, but I'm glad you guys liked him because I don't know, I felt like he was being bullied a bit harshly, but Clark's also a wiener, so like it was probably his time to come.
I don't feel like he was getting it that hard.
I think it's pretty common, like with a group of type people that work together. And
and this is like, not only is he like a white guy and this is back in the 70s and stuff, so these guys probably get shit on a little bit anyhow sometimes, and now, but he had like a fancy job and he went to a fancy school and now he's working in the mailroom as like the lowest one there, so of course they're gonna like give him a hard time.
Oh, for sure. Something about it, I mean, it was good and it felt true, but it's been like it's funny, there's been murder, there's been all this crazy stuff, and for some reason that I was like, oh,
the stool.
Having flashbacks.
I was having panic flashbacks.
Dave LaBelle in the chat, I don't think Don Draper would have done that with the money.
I don't either.
Which
and
is
I like
funny.
that because it felt very like Mad Men.
Yeah, very self-destructive.
Sort of thing.
Well, we kind of talked about I'm a powerful white guy, but life is still hard trope, whatever you call that. But that's a new, it's like Walter White. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't really rich, but Don Draper, it's kind of Tony Soprano, Richie Finestra. And it's fun to kind of compare them. And I feel like I'm starting to get on board with Richie, because the tough thing with those characters, they're an anti-hero, so you've got to get the audience somehow. And I feel like I'm getting on board with Richie now, which is interesting. Even though Don Draper probably wouldn't have done that with the money, I agree.
Right. It would have been smarter business decisions.
Which is weird, because that feels like something he would have, but you're right, he wouldn't have been that careless.
There was an element of competency that Don Draper has that I haven't seen from Richie yet.
Yes.
And I'm still not convinced, like, Richie's super competent. And, like...
Well, and it's the thing, his competence is implied because they have the label.
So at one point
I mean, clearly he is.
At one point he was.
Yes.
Right.
So at one point he was, and he busted his butt to get them to this place, and they built like a great record label that great. I mean, we know it's like kind of struggling.
It
wasn't
was,
as
though.
financially sound.
Yeah.
We've been told it was great.
Right. So we know at some point, like he put in work. So but we need to see that happening now.
Yeah.
Too.
I think we do, but like from a storytelling standpoint, that's a boring show if everything goes well.
Yeah.
Or even just because like they introduced it in the pilot of like we're running all these scams and like we've been working all this time to make us look like we're worth $10 million. That it's like, okay, now let's see what happens when it's not.
Oh, for sure. And that's what the show is.
And you keep watching the bottom drop out on these people.
Right.
And it makes me excited for season 2 because I have a feeling we're going to end at Ashes and then Phoenix season 2. And I want to see Richie slay. Like I want to see that Richie.
He's gonna come back like all like clean and sober. And
I don't know. We're not there yet. I keep pushing us to predictions.
No,
but
we're almost there though. I think. Well, I think let's just wrap up unless we had more to talk about Clark, Jamie, the other guys. But we kind of and then we have like a very quick bit with the mafia guys and our little murder storyline in there. And Corso is pressuring this radio guy to like play his act. Yeah, and he drops Gold and Galasso's names, and they come in. They're like, "Wait, what do you do? Do you not know how this works? You can't just throw our names around, dude. Like seriously." And all the while, I believe detectives, were like, what, 5 feet away listening
because it's kind of like in college where you get the math problem and the answer's in the back of the book, but you have to show your work. Those detectives pretty much just have to show their work now.
Exactly.
That's a great analogy.
Like they know Richie did it.
Right.
They know the answer.
Put on your professor hat.
But they're only going to get half credit unless they actually prove it. So now they're just following around all those players to try and prove it.
Yeah. Very wise, Steve Kaufmann.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
Kaufmann math.
Kaufmann. But yeah, I think Corso, I mean, we've known is kind of the dumb, like he's kind of a dummy.
The incredible liability to Richie.
Oh gosh.
Zach mentions him too in one of the scenes, like why is Corso in the office?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if Richie had a clear head about him, the first thing he should have done was flip on Corso immediately.
Yeah.
Just be like, I was there. It was self-defense, but Corso was the one.
Which is the truth.
That's not too far from the truth. He was also on top of it. Like, he was also on top of him, and he also did some fatal blows, too. Like, if he told the whole truth, he'd get manslaughter at best. But at the same...
Like,
he could lie. He could lie and could have flipped on Corso almost immediately.
Yeah, I feel like if you accidentally kill somebody or it's in self-defense, the better option is always just to say something. Not that I've been in that position many times. I mean, but I feel like it's gonna
to not like try to
trying to hide it and
that's gonna
all
come
that
back and bite you.
Is just makes you look. It looks so shady.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Well,
oh gosh, I don't know, but
now he has to continue the lie.
Yeah.
He either had to flip on Corso immediately or play the game as like, I wasn't even there. He called me. I went there. They were drunk. I left.
Exactly. Yeah. So before we dive into predictions, which we'll do in one sec, so last week we were talking about Jenna Finestra, Richie's daughter, and how we were saying like, oh, she doesn't look like, like Devin and stuff. Well, and the actress is named Belle Smith, and her mom Instagram messaged me and was saying that Belle's real dad is white with blue eyes. So
what?
I mean, know, like how the mom, obviously Devin in the show is our fair blue-eyed one, but that but little Belle plays, she'll play the daughter of a Mexican actor, or pretty versatile with that.
Wow.
So she
She
wanted to let us know that she does have one of her parents is in fact super, like it's not not that off with the the complexion and hair color.
Well, she's been excellent on the show.
Yeah, so cute.
Yes.
So cute. So it was cute getting to chat with her and see that, and it's always fun when people who are on the show or part of the show actually, watch our after shows and reach out to us. So cool. So let's get into predictions. Huh?
Yes. AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right. So in the teaser for next week, we see them bring in the kid from the bar mitzvah, Corso is threatening to take down Richie with him. You know, if I'm going to drown, I'm not drowning alone sort of thing. We've got some issues with the nasty bits. I think we see Richie doing coke again. He asked for a lawyer. You know, this is what we've
got
talk
to my lawyer.
Coming. Yes. So, I mean, I didn't think, coming into it anyway, before even seeing the teaser, I definitely felt like we were going to see Richie get back into drugs, for sure. And I know that's something that Good Girl Gamer said, do we think he's still going to stay sober or go on another bender? I don't know if we'll see him go on another bender.
I think we will. Terence Winter said this was our experiment with the sober Richie, was the way he phrased it. This was the writer's room.
Yeah,
I
saw that.
I think we're going to be whirlwind psychopath Richie next week. And I think until the end of the season. Well, that's my prediction.
Especially how close to the sun he got while he was in Vegas.
Right.
He was in a room with Elvis and convinced Elvis.
I know.
That's really, you have to be really good to get that close.
Yeah.
I don't see much sunlight for the next 3 episodes.
No. Dang it, you guys.
I know
you're probably
with the murder
right.
and everything.
I just think we're King Learing it right now. And there's a season 2, but it just feels kind of Shakespearean. I feel like there's been so much looming, and it's hard to see how any of these looming. We've kind of wondered, is Richie gonna crash and burn, or is he gonna rise to the top? And I think he's gonna crash and burn.
He's gonna crash. I kind of agree with you. I think he's gonna crash and burn before he rises, definitely, for sure.
I think he's gonna crash and burn, but I think American Century is gonna do fine.
Yeah, I could see
Andy.
that. Maybe without him,
Andy
and
Zach. They kind of muscle him out a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, to a certain extent, he brought
Zach's
Andy
starting
in.
to do A&R more.
He brought Andy in specifically because day to day, he's not all there.
He needs
hasn't been for a while. Doesn't like to.
Right.
Yeah, as much as I don't want, you guys, I know better. I know it's going to get worse before it gets better, if it gets better. So yeah, I agree with that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious because we still haven't nasty bits much. There's a lot that needs to happen. We haven't done much.
Bro, I didn't get my nasty bits.
We have to give out nasty bits.
I need to do some nasty bits.
There's a lot we need to explore still. We only have 3 hours to do it, so.
I know.
Good Girl Gamer wants to know, do you guys think Richie will get arrested?
Yes, I was just gonna actually say that. I do see him getting taken in and arrested.
I don't
think he's gonna be he's gonna get out.
They have enough to bring him in for sure.
Right. Well, asking to talk to his lawyer, I think that means he gets arrested.
Yeah.
Probably.
Will he be punished?
No.
I think he's gonna get out of it.
Gonna be straight up. Do you think he's gonna be straight up brought in for the murder, or
Well, you can bring him in for questioning.
Right.
They have enough evidence with probable cause. They could just bring him in. We'd like to question you about this murder.
Right.
Because formally instead of how they did in that office.
Because Corso said his name at the table when the cops were listening.
Yeah.
So we know there's a connection, or they know. Obviously, there's an even more concrete connection, and so, I don't know how much that really gave away. I don't.
Like I said, they already know that. They looked at the back of the book and they know the answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're trying to show their work.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
Spent most of college doing that.
All right. Well, do we have anything else we need to get out about this episode, or any other ideas?
We didn't Grimes it either. What's going to happen with Lester?
No. I think from the teaser, we're going to see the nasty bits a bit next week.
Yeah. I guess that's tied to the nasty bits subplot. So
Speaking of next week, I'll be at WrestleMania still. So
I actually don't know if I'm going to be here next week. I'm looking for a fill-in.
Whoa.
I know. I can call in though.
Anyway,
I might call in. You might not see me next week. You might hear me.
We'll handle this together separately,
Just warning you
without
guys.
all you guys on here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that was awesome, solid episode, and excited for it. We've only got a few left. It's going to be great, and even if it's really depressing. So anyhow, you guys, even if it's really stressful and hard to watch, it's going to be good. We know it. Anyhow, guys, thanks for tuning in the chat. Good Girl Gamer, Alexander, Dave, and whoever else is in there, and for all y'all watching live. We love having you guys in the live chat. Be sure to also tweet us while you're watching the episode and throughout the week, because we want to know what you guys think, and we love talking to you about it. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next week. I'm Lauren Salaun. You can find me everywhere online at Lauren Salaun.
I'm Steve Kaufmann. You can find me on Twitter exclusively at Steve Kaufmann. That is Kaufmann. I will be doing Gotham in about 2 hours. And starting this Thursday, I will be live at WrestleMania in Dallas, Texas for the whole weekend.
holding it down.
I should have said that.
Like a wrestle.
I forgot to.
I don't know if that's a wrestle.
Body slam over here.
I don't know.
And I'm Laila Sadny. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Laila Sadny.
And I'm Jeff Graham. You guys can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham and on Instagram at Jeffrey Crane Graham.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.